Hello everybody, welcome back to Rationally Speaking. I'm Martin Turner. This is my colleague and co-host, Stuart Carrington. But I think, breaking these things down is useful because it's really important that you get the right B and that you don't challenge something that isn't irrational with you don't challenge it on rationality grounds and it isn't irrational. Because you're going to be having circular arguments, essentially. You want to make sure that you're helping the individual to articulate the belief in its fullest way. And then you can assess it for its rationality, rather than taking the first thing that sounds like a belief and then rolling with it and getting excited and going, oh, where's the evidence? Is it logical? Is it useful? You might be challenging the wrong thing there. So that's the first point around disputation, which is our next letter. The second thing about disputation is a bad word.
Okay.
Really.
Why don't you like it?
It's too aggressive.
Okay.
You know what I mean? It's too argumentative.
Would you prefer contemplation?
Maybe, yeah.
Kind of two C's though.
Can't have two C's. That's the problem. So we have to think about the poeticness of G, A, B, C, D, E, and not get too hung up on what D means. Yes, there's connotations around disputation. If you're going to roll with the word disputation, that's fine. It's really important to understand that you're not disputing the client.
Yeah.
You and the client, as scientists in cahoots, are disputing the idea. You're disputing the beliefs. You're not having an argument with the client to say you're wrong and I'm right and here's the reasons. You're not saying you're irrational and I'm rational. Let me show you how to be rational. You're saying, let's extract this thing that doesn't seem to be helping you and assess it. How rigid and extreme is this thing? How logical is this? Is there any truth to this statement? Not true for you, again.
Sure.
Is it empirically true? So when people say, who are you to tell me that someone's irrational or rational? I'm not saying anything. The world is telling us, because it's illogical. It's not how the world works. It's not empirically, it's not empirically solid. So it's not us saying you're irrational or you're rational. It's you and the client together saying, does this belief make sense? I mean, is there any truth to this? Yeah. I think that's really important, because how we write about REBT sometimes seems as if that's not the case, because we're trying to fit a word count. You can't express REBT in its fullest form every time you write a paper on it.
Yeah, absolutely. Should we hit E? The establishment of new beliefs?
Yes.
Okay, so once we've followed this disputation, and I guess it's time one for another time, all the wonderful methods that REBT has used and refined, and also I think just want to point out as a kind of a precursor to that, from my own experience and readings, there's certain populations that certain approaches might be more beneficial to, more applicable to, for lots of reasons. So I think that flexibility, we spoke about that word earlier on today, is really important in that stage as well.
Yes. Yeah.
And following disputation, we managed to establish new beliefs. And this is where this doesn't mean that we don't experience irrational beliefs anymore. Yeah. It's just that we experience them less frequently. When we do experience them, they're less strong. And we also experience a rational alternative more frequently and more intensely.
Yes. Yeah. And again, that's being created together as a collaborative exercise. You're not saying, well, we've extracted the irrational. Here's your rational belief, because it's completely opposite. It's got to be in the client's language, in things that make sense to them. You want to capture the sentiment of rationality. It's specifically defined as we have. But it doesn't have to be that language. It could be whatever language the person wants to use. They could boil it down to one word that captures everything they want to say in that idea. Again, it's not getting too hung up on language. Yes, it's a language-based therapy, but you don't want to get too hung up on specific words that should or have to be used because it's REBT. That person can use whatever words they want as long as they're capturing the sentiment that is of REBT-ness, whatever that is. And I think that's important because we're trying to use their language so we can create a bit of a shared language. Really, I don't want them to use my language because my language is very specific to my field.
Sure.
And it's jargonistic and it's theoretical and all the rest of it. That's useful to me in communicating about RBTs to an academic audience, let's say. It's less useful when I'm communicating with a client. It's far more useful to use their language.
Yeah.
So however they want to position this, they can position it.
Yeah.
As long as the language is symbolic of the rationality that's in RBT.
Sure.
Yeah. What do you think is kind of the main challenge here of adopting rational beliefs, say for the first time?
I think when it comes to challenging, the three areas, it's the logic one that, for me, I've found most challenging.
Yeah.
Because people, first of all, I think there's this little bit of a crossover between truth and logic.
Yes.
And the second one is, well, the second reason why is because people find it very difficult to not see why it's illogical to go from a want to a demand. They might say, oh, yeah, I can see why it doesn't, but I still believe it. So there's this there's this intellectual understanding. I understand why just because I want something doesn't mean I have to have it.
Yes.
But emotionally, no, I still want it, and therefore I must have it.
Yeah.
So they emotionally they buy into it. What do you think?
And also they're experiencing the emotions in the same way as they were before.
Yeah.
When they enter into that adversity.
Sure.
So, and so what you've led us into here is kind of intellectual insight versus emotional insight.
Yeah. I just find like the goals aspects not challenging. I find most people kind of get it.
Yeah.
But again, there's this emotional aspect, and I think it's just because it's been harvested for such a long time.
100%.
I really want to win this trophy. I really must win. These are kind of these demands that are put upon me. That it's really hard to step away from that. I think we've just socialised that aspect of beliefs to such an extent. It's just really difficult.
Yeah. Which is why, when you're in the intellectual insight phase. So in RBT, the idea is that you, start to construct these rational alternatives at E. And that somebody can very quickly see, okay, that makes sense. I understand why this would be better. I understand why this would get me further towards what I want to get to. I understand how this would be truer, more logical, and it's obviously less rigid and dogmatic. But when I face that adversity, that activating event, when I'm in that situation again, I still really believe the irrational bit. That's what drives my emotion. Yeah. So they haven't quite achieved emotional insight. And emotional insight is when that rational side, that rational belief has been practiced and rehearsed, and we can do that using imagery. We can do it using behavioural assignments. They can go out into the world and really practice this thing. And some of it is just affirmation, just rehearsal. You know what I mean? Like telling yourself to doing some reprogramming. Then when that's been done, then they can achieve emotional insight. When they go into that situation or a similar situation, when they face that adversity, they are now responding emotionally in a functional way, not necessarily a positive emotion, but they're experiencing that emotion in a functional way, and underpinned by those rational beliefs. They're able to very quickly counter the irrational. They're able to see it for what it is straight away. And no, I don't need to, but I really want to. And they really mean it, and they when they say it, they really mean it. And then over time, it becomes the irrational starts to fade. Yeah. I see rational and rational as two separate dials.
Yeah, that's a really nice, but after you've told me this before, I love this way of thinking about it. And when I articulated it to participants or clients, they really embrace that.
Because it's sometimes seen as two ends of the same dial.
Yeah.
You turn away from irrationality to rationality, but it's not the case. They're two separate dials. You can dial irrationality down and dial rationality up, and the opposite way around, again, to fit the context. And I think it's trying to help people to be realistic about the irrational side. You are going to have some irrational ideas and beliefs. It's in you to do it. It's part of you. It's how quickly and how well can you counter that with the rational. So it's a constant, I wouldn't say battle because it makes it sound, in the early days it is, it is obviously very kind of explicitly done.
It makes it sound energy consuming.
Which it is initially. And the scientific literature on emotion regulation tells us that although cognitive change is one of the most effective ways to regulate emotion, it's also one of the most taxing. It's far less taxing to distract yourself or to avoid the stimulus. So it is taxing. But over time, once that philosophy changes, and I just see things and myself in a rational way, then you're not having to do that processing because you just think in that way and you believe in that way, and those are the rules that you set for yourself. So you're not having to do that counteraction, that challenge all the time, because that's how you see things.
Yeah.
So it's quicker. You've set that rule. It's a more efficient way to respond to the environment.
Absolutely.
It's efficient because once you adopt it, it shapes how you emote and how you behave in a way that needs less processing.
Yeah.
You don't have to consciously think about this stuff now. This is just how I see things. And then therefore I can react to adversity in a more natural manner.
Yeah.
And that's where the efficiency and the elegant side comes from. Yeah.